Can you tell me what it's like to write music for a film, how it differs creatively from the stuff you've done before and the process that you go through?
Well, one of the best things about film music is it's very freeing. Like, if you're an artist like me, people have a certain perception of you and what you should, people know me as a rock star and all this shit.
Yeah.
And, getting up playing for thousands of people and all that stuff. But I think you'd find with most artists, they all do all sorts of different stuff, or they're very much at least into different things.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I'm a very prolific writer, so I do write a lot of music all the time. In some ways too much. I sort of had to stop because I wasn't using half the shit, Because the thing about writing music is you can write so much, but putting it out is another story. It's like harder to put it out than it is properly than to just write it.
Yeah.
So when Jim, the director, and Baron were doing doing a documentary on our making of our last record.
Yeah.
So they were with us here, and we went to LA and stuff. And then they got their feature up halfway through, and they said, "Oh, well, we've got to stop this. We want to do this feature." And Jim's like, "Look, I really love your album Mixtape. I listen to it all the time." And that record for me has been a real great breakout. I know it's a few years ago I did it now, but just showing all the different styles of music that I like and like to perform, And he said, "I really like that, and it's inspiration behind this film. So, would you be interested in doing the soundtrack?" So I was like, "Yeah, that sounds cool." And so I just wrote all different types of songs and tried to work on the scenes as I saw them. And because you're working in different emotions and different things are happening, you can really vary the music a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with the score is when you're sitting there watching the scene and you start playing something on piano or whatever, your guitar, and it's pretty obvious almost straight away when something works.
Yeah. And
you just roll with it. So there's a lot of improvisation involved too. So the main difference really is how freeing it is compared to making regular records, I think.
And so when do you come into that process, man? Like, when do you, is it before editing's done? Like, when do you get when did they give you something that you could have a look at and start thinking about what you wanted to write?
Well, I think because these guys, this was their first feature, and whenever anything's done first time, it's just like, it's all new and they're just trying to get it down.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a lot of time to finish the project, and we were right on deadline by the end. And also I didn't have an edit to work from early, so I wrote a lot of these songs particularly, and some of the score music was written before I even saw any of the footage.
Okay.
And for songs that actually worked pretty well because I had a really good backlog. I did about 10 days at Sing Sing in Melbourne, and I just did a bunch of songs. And then when the scenes came in, I was like, well, let's try this one. No, that doesn't work. Oh, this one works pretty well. And so luckily there was a freshness to them.
That's cool.
That worked. And then for the second half of the score, once the cut, we did have it, and Jim was there, the director, really helping me basically being in the studio when I was working on a theme, and I'm going like, "Do you dig this?" He's like, "Yeah," or "No." So straight away, because there's like 20 different ways you could approach any scene.
Yeah.
And then we did the score music that way. So by the end, it sort of ended up being a double album. So I've kind of two records in a sense that are all mixed together, and one is all score and one is all songs. So it's kind of like, I guess it's my next record in a way.
And what's it like seeing it finished up on the screen?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing. Because one of the best things about it is the sound is so powerful. It's huge sound.
Yeah.
And you're getting quadraphonic sound because the sound designer has mixed for the cinema.
Yeah.
So it just makes your songs sound so fucking awesome.
And did you take that into consideration? This, the fact that there is,
oh yes,
a dynamic of sound in the cinema. Yeah.
Yes, because even though the film's run was relatively short, but I think that happens a lot with features in Australia now.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Like Iron Man 7 or whatever, Iron Man 26 or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to compose for the screen. That's what we're all about. It's like saying we're going to play a tour.
Yeah. And
we're going to do 3 massive gigs.
Yeah.
And then we'll play all these small shows. Well, you got to build your show around the massive gigs and then downsize for the small shows. Like, you got to bring it to the party. And so I did use certain sounds that I thought would work well. And I think sound designer Also, I did get a bit of help with certain subsonics stuff from a friend of Jim's and stuff. But essentially, it's all come together really well, and I was really happy. There's a guy called Rob Thornton who did do a little bit of extra stuff on it with me, who was really, really helpful because he had a bit of experience in that, but just really sort of, how would I describe, kind of opening up what was already there a bit more and giving it that more of a slightly more cinematic sound in certain parts. But I was pretty much determined for this whole project just to play everything myself and write it all. It was a real rite of passage for me as a composer to just do that shit, That's
Definitely.
what I like. Yeah.
Something you've ticked off.
Well, no, it's another thing that I like to do.
Yeah, okay.
I've been asked to do more scores now, so.
Oh, that's wicked, man. That's good. Well, I suppose with the state of album sales now, musos have to look at different avenues to make an income. Am I assuming that, or is that correct?
I think you're probably right. I mean, I've been lucky. I do fine with all the stuff.
Yeah.
My band's still luckily enough is a big band, and we play stuff and all that. But it's more creatively I'm talking about that you feel the need to do all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to sit around just doing one thing when there's lots of interesting things that hold interest for me to do. So I don't sort of do it as a money thing as much as a creative thing.
And jumping back a little bit there, I bought Mixtape. We were heading up to visit some mates in Queensland, and we bought it from Big W in Kempsey just because we couldn't find a radio station around. And I really enjoyed that album, man, and all the diverse sounds on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But what I'm more interested to know is, did doing that open up certain avenues that hadn't been open to you before when you were just, forgive me, but you were just known as, Kram from Spiderbait. Now you're Kram doing this, album Mixtape. Did that open up other avenues for you?
Yes, absolutely. I just mentioned that in the last interview. That's really what happened, and that was the whole idea behind the project was to
flex your muscle almost.
Yeah, well, it's great being a rock star and all that. But in some ways, it's a bit like being a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time, being seen and not a lot of time doing much.
Okay.
So you kind of, which is fine. And I love my band, and I love.
Of course.
We just did Falls tour, and it was massive. Like I nearly got killed when I went out to the crowd in Vaughan.
Yeah, you cracked a rib, yeah.
Right? Yeah, I did, and which was, hurt, but it was euphorically exciting and fucking crazy.
Fuck yeah.
But I can't be doing that 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
I really like creating music for music's sake. Like my girlfriend's an artist, and she's into all sorts of interesting concepts and stuff. And sometimes some of the stuff she does is sound, and it's just the most amazing palette to it. There's an incredible way it makes you feel. It has nothing to do with songs. It's just purely the sound and how it can change your perception of things and give you a headspace. I really like minimalist composers like Steve Rush. So it's like people that no one's ever heard of. So to answer your question, Mixtape was all about that. It was all about, look, check this out. I'm into all this shit and I'm playing it all myself. And so it's kind of trying to create an artist out of the rock star in a way, and that's kind of what it did.
Yeah, I follow Fenella Kernenbone online just because she's got her finger on all that, that sort of sound art, for want of a better word for it. Just such interesting stuff. I'm going to get into the meat and potatoes questions now, Kram.
All right.
After all these years, what keeps Spiderbait coming back for more, and how have you managed to stay friends and remain a band?
It's the shows, really. I think, we did our first record last year for a long time, 10 years. And we loved doing that. We went to LA and we worked with Frank Tito's, and Frank was brilliant. And it was the first thing I think he'd done since he did Gautier and won his Grammy. But he was a really big fan of ours from way back, and we loved Frank. And, you know, we like making records to put these songs out, but it's the actual, I think the thing that's kept us together more than anything else is becoming a big band that plays big shows.
Yeah.
And the euphoria of that and the continuum of that. Like we've been doing those sort of gigs now for 10 years at least. And we just did Falls. We played to 20,000 people at Splendor last year.
Yeah.
Probably one of the biggest gigs of the whole weekend. Stuff like that. The crowd is so with you, and you get so into the energy of that and playing your music and doing that. I think it's probably the one factor. If we sort of ended up just playing small pubs and being known as a good band that we're used to be, I don't think we'd still be here. The fact that we're still a big band for live shows is probably the main reason. And it just gives us a lot of confidence, and I don't see that changing. You know, if our show started to go crap, we probably would reconsider. But
so,
our shows are stronger and bigger than ever, so why change it? You know.
Is that what we can expect at Rolling Green? Are you going to bring the big show and no cracked ribs? I hope this time though.
Well, we don't have any production. There's no bells and whistles. It's just me getting up there and getting nuts.
Go and fucking sit. Yeah, right.
Having no idea what I'm going to do, and I love that.
Yeah.
And that's become my shtick, really. Hence why you break ribs and shit sometimes, because you just let yourself go completely for the show, completely and utterly in the moment. And I really feel it's a lot of meaning in that for me.
Yeah.
It's an energy that I love having, and so I don't see it. I have no idea what we're going to do at these gigs. You just wait and see. We'll just turn up and play our show and see what happens. That's the way I like it. And
tell me, we get a lot of musos reading reading the articles on our website. So one of the things I ask everyone I interview is like what sort of gear they're using at the moment. Do you have an endorsement, Kram, or is it like you play what you like?
I do have an endorsement with Ludwig. But
Yeah.
They sort of let me play whatever I want, and I don't really care what I play as long as it doesn't look crap.
Yeah.
I've got a Vista Light bottom issue, an orange one that I use a lot, but I don't really like travelling with lots of gear. Generally, we just hire stuff, and my tech is an English guy who's really good with drums. Will get me what I need, and I've been working with 2 kick drums again because I've started playing lots of double kick metal shit.
I noticed that. Why is that? Like, what brought you back to that?
Because it's awesome.
That's sick.
No, I just started doing it again a couple of years ago when I wrote the song Straight Through the Sun. That's the first song on our last record. And ever since then, I'm like, oh, this is fucking sick. I haven't done this for years. Yeah. You know, it's just like, I don't know, it's just like driving a fast car when you haven't done that for a long time. Or it's just exciting.
Yeah.
You can't do it every song. And I like the way it looks too. It just looks totally rock. And it's fucking great. So, yeah.
Fuck yeah, that's why. And tell me, there's one of the things when I was doing, I sort of try and stay away from Wikipedia when I'm doing research for my interviews, but I did notice something that I hadn't seen before and I hadn't heard you mention. I just wanted to bring it up. I know Wikipedia is not a great source, but it says that that you guys published to your website that newer fans were unaware of the material you guys had put out before Black Betty. And I wanted to know, A, is that true? Did you guys say that? And if so, if that's the case, how do you juggle that at a gig, in 2015?
I'm not sure if we said that, but I know someone did.
Yeah, right.
And it's not all of our fans, but I mean, there's quite a few fans who, and then naturally when you have such a big song, a lot of people are introduced to your band. So
yeah.
It's more of a case of them discovering your older stuff after the fact than not knowing that it exists.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, there's some merit in that statement, but it's almost like, to a lot of people, Black Betty, to some people, almost like Black Betty is like your first single to a younger generation of fans. And this is the weird thing about us, is that we find that we're getting new fans all the time that are younger, and it's like a whole new generation of kids like our band, who are obviously much younger than the generation before, and now it's carrying over again. So I really like that. I think if you play a show and it's just all your old fans, it's cool. But I think this is the other reason to answer your question why we're still going, and that I think in the sense that because we keep getting new young fans into our stuff, and like Falls, it's just all young crowd and it's going nuts. So it's nice to have all different types of people into your music, you know.
And there's a few questions I want to finish off with here, Kram. These two are for me. I personally wanted to know whether Frank chose you or you chose Frank. Like, how did that come about to work on your last album, man?
Well, we knew about Frank. Our publisher, Damien Trotter at Sony, he mentioned him. And he said, you should check this guy out. I know he's a fan of yours. And you know, we did, and that was interesting. But to be honest, the main person who got me interested in working with Frank was Bertie Blackman.
Yeah, right.
Because I was doing the Straight to You Triple J tribute to Nick Cave.
Yep.
The national tour. We did that, and I was in that. Did a few songs in that show, and was playing in the band. And Bert was part of that troupe, and she was doing a couple of songs. Me and Bert became friends, and she said, and I was amazed because before rehearsal she would go to the studio and work with this guy Frank Titos, and he's like, because he'd done Gautier, and it was like, oh, he's awesome, it's amazing. I'm like, fuck. And then after that, and that's when Damien said you should check this guy out. So we were jamming close to his studio in Richmond, and I arranged to go and talk to him and played him Stretch Through the Sun, which I had on demo, and immediately he said, yeah, let's do it. Because that's kind of the song that kicked the whole project off for us and for him. And ever since then, we've been, like, great friends. Like, you know, I had a great time in LA with him. Frank's a true gentleman, and he's an absolute genius to work with, and it's really changed my perception of what it is. Like, I'm producing this new Stonefield record.
Oh, yeah, right.
And, I'm starting that next month, and we've been doing a lot of co-writing together, and it's going to be really good. And I've taken all my production idea and inspiration really from Frank, just about songs and the energy and trying to be honest without being personal, and just a lot of trying to communicate those things across and just make the best work you can.
Yeah, he definitely has got it's a full and thick output. He's definitely got a knack for it, man.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's also an eccentric and...
Yeah, really?
He's a great dude. Talk to Frank all day.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I'll knuckle down. I've only got a few more minutes. We're big fans of Steph Gilmore here, like girl power. She's just amazing. Yeah. How did you guys end up jamming together? Like, how did that come about?
Well, I met Steph when I did a thing for Quicksilver a few years ago, and we were living in Melbourne at the time, and they flew me up to do this online TV show with Matt Hoy.
Yeah.
Just hanging around at the Quicksilver and just talking crap and just doing stuff, and I thought that'd be fun. And Matt was a really top guy, and one of the things they got arranged was for Steph to come up because me and my girlfriend and our kids, we all had an apartment where all the surfers were staying in Snapper, and Steph came up with her guitar, and we had this jam on the balcony, and so he played a pretty good blues,
Yeah.
And we sort of became mates after that, and I've kept in contact with her, and she texted me and said she was coming to Falls, and I'm like, oh cool, hey, why don't you get up and play with us? I've always wanted to have a jam. And she's like, yeah, let's do it. So we did I think we did Plastic Patron, Subpop, Pop and Wild, and with Wipeout in the middle. And then we jammed it a little bit, but there wasn't much prep. And I think she did great. It was hilarious.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, it was a great Aussie moment.
She's a really, really top person, and she's awesome.
And last but not least, we tweeted out that we were doing an interview with you, and if anyone wanted to ask anything, and the one question that I wanted to put to you that one of the guys came back with was, is there any chance that Spiderbait will do an album show a la, the UMI, retrospect, like Pixies came out and did their first album?
Not a bad idea, actually. I think you could probably do... Ivy would probably be the obvious one to do.
Obviously, yeah.
I would love to do something like that, because the good thing is, I know for those guys it gave them a real focus, and I know Living End did the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a possibility on the cards that we could do.
this person will be very happy. All right, man. It's great to chat to you. Thanks so much for speaking to Newcastle Live, and we're looking forward to the show. See you there.
Thanks a lot. See you, man.
See you, man.